the webinar today. So I want to welcome you all to our webinar, Making Sense of Online Marketing for Home and Building Services. So for years, we've all been talking in the marketing world about the importance of online marketing, about email and social media campaigns, your website, online listings, and how you're creating content. Really, that important information, it hasn't changed. And with today's world, with COVID-19, it's only intensified it now that the internet has really become our main conduit for interacting with each other during this time. The truth is that online marketing is really an opportunity. People are out there searching for services in your businesses just like yours. In fact, we're seeing about 97% of consumers, they go online to find some sort of local business in the first place. And more specifically for this industry, 55% of home service customers, they run a search before scheduling an appointment. And the biggest point there is that they don't have a specific company in mind, or most of them don't before they start their search. So really, this whole idea of being online with your business, you want to be there. You want to show up in the search and you want to get your business out there. There's really a big opportunity for your phone to be ringing so much more. Now, I know online marketing for a lot of small businesses like yours, it can feel overwhelming, like there are too many tools or never-ending expert advice. And certainly I know time is of the essence, right? There's not enough time to figure it all out. And that's why we put together this webinar today. And we've brought in a really great expert that's going to help us to navigate this world of online marketing, specifically for the home and building services industry. So let's see more specifically what we're going to be covering today. First, we're going to talk about how people are actually out there and finding you online. There's a bunch of different ways that you'll see. Then we're going to talk about how to actually set yourself up for success and the different pieces of the puzzle that you'll want to fit together. And in the last section, that's where we're going to talk about how it all comes together. So let me go ahead and put a face with my name as well as our guest speaker. My name is Stephanie French, and I'm the content manager for webinars here at Constant Contact. I'll be facilitating the conversation today, but I'm really excited to bring in Ryan Redding, who's the CEO of DP Marketing Services. And I'll have you just go ahead and say hello.
Yep. Hey guys, thanks for having me on, Stephanie.
Yeah, he specifically works with a lot of clients in this home and building industry. So I want to thank you again for sharing all of your great expertise with us.
My pleasure.
All right, so let's get started. Let's start by talking about how people are actually finding your business online. And I want to start by talking about this whole idea of word of mouth because it's important for a lot of businesses, and I think more specifically for this industry. So could you talk a little bit about how it really happens for the industry?
Yeah, so word of mouth is one of those things that often gets overlooked, which is a real shame. So in marketing, there's this idea called conversion ratios, which basically says how many times something has to happen for a lead to be made. So for instance, for a billboard, conversion ratio right now is about 10,000 to 1, which means for every 10,000 eyeballs that drive by a billboard, one person notices it. Referrals, word of mouth, it's almost always 1-to-1. One happy customer creates one good lead, or the opposite, one pissed off customer makes off a lot of other people who are also never going to use your services. It is one of the easiest and most efficient ways for a home services company to focus on getting leads and getting traffic. On top of that, the other thing that makes this interesting is, if we're really honest, a lot of contractors have a bad reputation. So customers have low trust and a lot of anxiety when having to call a contractor to do whatever work. Having a word of mouth referral is almost a guaranteed customer for you. The more inbound referrals you get, the more you'll be able to scale very efficiently.
Definitely. And we're seeing that happen a lot online these days too. You know, there's Facebook recommendations specifically. And, you know, if someone's just sharing and shouting about a small business online, especially, you know, if I'm looking for a plumber or today I need an electrician, you know, I definitely want to make sure if I'm allowing someone in my home that people are out there and they're saying good things about that company. Now, does this look any different in today's world with COVID-19 and all these changes that have happened in about the last month and a half?
Yes and no. So the main difference that we've noticed on our end, so just for some context, at DP Marketing Services, we pretty much exclusively work with plumbing, HVAC, and electrical contractors. So we're very used to seeing customer behaviors in markets all across the US and Canada. We still find more than ever that people are very, very anxious of who they're going to call into their house. If a company has had a negative reputation before COVID-19, chances are the customer's not willing to roll the dice to have a company come out to do service for them, do any type of job for them, if they have a shady reputation. Your customers, you have to understand your customer mindset. They're anxious, they're nervous, they're trying to keep their family protected from any sort of unknown virus in the world. Uh, People who seem like they rip people off, cut corners, do shady customer service, they're going to struggle getting people to reach out to them in this time of uncertainty. So in some ways, more than ever, that positive reputation that's reinforced on Google My Business, Facebook, Yelp, like you know the platforms, those are more important than ever. Here's something that's changed though. At this current point in time, Google has suspended a lot of the incoming reviews due to COVID-19. So if basically whatever your reputation was on Google specifically before all this started, you're kind of frozen in time there. Now Google's starting to unlock it where it's going in industry by industry and area by area to start releasing these reviews public again. But for a lot of companies, wherever they were before the economy went down, before all these quarantines and all this stuff happened, that reputation is what they have to carry them through. So the best practices are still the best practices, but yeah, it's with Google being a little bit slow to release those reviews, it has changed the dynamic somewhat.
Definitely. So now more than ever, it's not just about really showing up in those Google searches, but it's about really how you're being presented out there. You want to make sure your business is presented in the right kind of light. So, very important information. So, word of mouth is really just one way that people are going to find out about you. The other way is they're going to go out there and they're going to run a search on you. Now, one example at my house not too long ago, well, I have a plumber example from not too long ago. Today, it was the electrician we found out we needed to get something installed. So we went out there and we started doing a search online, and then we started reaching out to people or to businesses who seemed like they had a good reputation, good reviews, have a website and things like that. So those things that are popping up in the search results, they're just a few of the things that are going to help you to be successful online. So, Ryan, I'm hoping that on this next screen, you can help us to understand what's going to show up if someone does a search about your business.
Yeah, so this particular search, I'm assuming everyone can see the screen well. This is what's called a branded search, which means they know specifically who the company is when they went to Google and they typed it in the search bar, okay? So the first things you're going to see at the top are going to be paid ads. Depending on your market, you might have Google local services, or you might have AdWords, or you might have both. In this case, this starts off with the AdWords. And just below that, you're going to see a little knowledge graph section with the images. And below that, you're going to see the first organic results. Now, when we say organic as a digital agency, we mean you're not paying per click, you're not paying per lead. The authority and reputation of your business, and more importantly, of your business's website, is helping to promote those to high visibility on Google. On the right-hand column, you'll see the knowledge graph that's pulling in your Google My Business data. So it's pulling in your service area that you put in Google My Business. It's put in the photos that's in Google My Business, things like phone number, clicks the website. If you have any appointment booking links in there, all of that is kind of in that right subset where people can really quickly find the information they're looking for. What are your hours? Are you open during COVID-19? They can even do things like message you directly for, hey, can you tell me more about the services you can provide? That right knowledge panel is a really powerful tool. And unlike most things in the world, this is the one thing where it's a free tool, so you get way more than what you pay for. Google My Business, if you don't have that set up, it is worth you taking the 13 minutes, fill out the form, get the postcard, verify your business. It's very valuable.
Yes, and that's because it shows up right at the top when someone searches. And like Ryan was saying, you get to share all of this additional information right within those search results. So very, very important. Now, the other kind of search that people will use is, plumbers near me or something similar along those lines. So let's take a look at what shows up in those search results. Do you want to walk us through that?
Yeah, sure. So this is an example of what's called an unbranded geo-modified search. Unbranded means they don't care who the company is. They don't know who the company is. They're just typing in plumber or electrician or air conditioner, whatever, right? Whatever service you provide, they're looking for that, modified by the city that they live. In this example, it's Portland. When this search is done, uh, as a quick aside, our research shows that most of the searches occur like this, occur not as a branded search, but as an unbranded geo-modified search. So you'll see at the very, very top in this market, you see the Google Local Services ads. Let's pause real quick. Google Local Services, if you're unaware, is a pay per lead product. It is different than Google AdWords. It is different than Google My Business. It's different from all the other things. This particular product, it's not in every market yet. So you may live in a market where that functionality does not exist, and it's not for every industry yet. So if you're doing something like tree services, if you're an arborist, there's a lot of markets where tree services does not yet appear in this sort of search. But that's what that is. And those are different than any other sort of lead gen process. Below that, you'll see that there's an AdWords. So in this case, it's the one that says Portland Plumbing LLC. So you have 3 Google Local Services. You'll see somewhere between 3 and 5 ads just below that. Typically, the first 5 to 7 businesses listed on a Google search like this are going to be paid opportunities from Google. You have to pay to show up there.
Very important, and that's something we'll also touch on a bit more later. So if we were to scroll down in this same search results, could you tell us a little bit about this and some other things that are going to show up there?
Yeah, so this section we often call the map pack. So this data is coming from data directly from your Google My Business listing. Companies that have a physical brick and mortar are going to have an artificial advantage showing up here. These are rated for Google to show the businesses based on proximity from the customer doing the search and by reputation of that company. If you have a really poor Google review, you're going to have a really hard time showing up in this section. Right now, this section, this map pack, contains 3 business listings and sometimes a 4th. Sometimes it's an AdWords opportunity, sometimes it's a Google Local Services opportunity, but right now there's always at least those 3. And I say it to go, Google's always experimenting with how many are there. It used to be 7, then it was 5, now it's 3, and sometimes an ad. Uh, from this, we find about 30% of the customers are going to pick a business on this map pack. So one of these 3 businesses is going to, as a total, get 30% of the people doing this particular search. It is very important that your business is present there. And this is the first of the organic opportunities that show up on this particular search term.
Definitely. So with the maps, make sure that you're getting set up on the Google My Business tool that Ryan was talking about earlier. So I think it's just important if we were to show another example here of scrolling down on this page, the other things that would show up are other, review sites, other information about you. There could be your website, and then if there are any articles relating to you, maybe your blog, anything else that would show up in that search that maybe I forgot to list.
Yeah, so it's important for people to know Google is always trying to solve the problem that the searcher has. So in this case, the searcher says that they're looking for a plumber in Portland. So Google's trying to identify what are the things most likely to solve that customer's particular problem. So it might show some opportunities like Yelp or Angie's List or Home Advisor if Google thinks those resources are the best thing to solve that particular customer's problem. It also might show specific websites of specific companies of highly rated, highly respectable. 60% of the searchers are going to go to one of those organic listings right there. So 10% are going to go to the ads, 30% going to this map pack, 60% goes to the organic listings below the map, only 5% go to page 2. So as a business that's trying to reach these type of customers, if you're not showing up on this first page somewhere, you are at a significant disadvantage of getting leads through Google.
Very, very important information. So let's just kind of recap this first section about getting found. You want to make sure that you're making it easy to be found for people to spread the word about you. You've got to show up when people go looking. So I think one of the most important things that Ryan has hit on is that Google My Business listing, because that can certainly help you to show up in the first page of the search results within that first page of information. And also something that's important there is, making sure you're putting your business in the best light. Are you reliable? Are you trustworthy? Are you going to show up when you say you're going to show up? And that means providing accurate answers to the information that they're looking for. So I think we're at a good place now. We can go into the second section where we talk about how you actually set yourself up for success. So here we're going to be talking about 5 different tools. These are really the foundation that Ryan's going to talk about, making sure that you have these in place so that you can be found online and interact with people. So first and foremost is a mobile friendly or a mobile responsive website, an email marketing tool, at least one primary social media channel where you're interacting and engaging with people, up-to-date business listings where you're also collecting reviews, and then an easy way to create content. So let's talk about each of these individually. I've found in a lot of my searches for these types of businesses, Ryan, that a lot of them are just relying on word of mouth or even like a Facebook page. But can you tell us why a website is so important here?
Yeah, so if you were to go back in time to like 1987, before the internet was anything that most people used, uh, honestly, you can go buy a building on Main Street, hang a shingle, and you'd be able to run business. And maybe you pick up a yellow book ad in the process. And a lot of businesses could be just fine doing that. In this day and age, the website is the first opportunity your business has to have an experience with a customer. Your customers are going to look for you online. They're going to look for you in the map. They're going to look for you by website. If they can't find you there, chances are they don't know you exist ever. Think again, our research says that most people do an unbranded geo-modified search. They're not looking for you by name. If they're not looking for you by name, they'll never be able to find you on something like Facebook or LinkedIn or Instagram, whatever your social channels. They're searching first for a web opportunity. From the web, they'll go to your social profiles. How active are you? How many followers do you have? Things like that. But your website is the first opportunity to keep that conversation going with the customer. To make it more complicated, statistically speaking, like 92% of the people are going to go to Google, and of those, 82% of the people are going to pull out their cell phone and do a search. They're not going down to a desktop and typing something out. They're literally pulling out their phone in their pocket. And if you think about this from a customer's perspective, it kind of makes sense. Most people don't think of a pest control service unless they're standing around in their living room and they're seeing spiders crawl out of vents, right? So they're not
Yep.
going to take the time to walk to their home office and sit down and log in. They're screaming, they're jumping on the table, they're pulling out their phone, and in panic mode, they're doing a search. And that's true if you're a plumber, that's true if you're an AC contractor, that's true if you're a tree service. It doesn't matter what your service is. People only look for you when there's a problem. Statistically speaking, those people are doing it from a cell phone. So when we say responsive website, that means that it's a website that's going to always look good, regardless of the size of screen that a person's looking at it on. You have to know as a business manager, most of the people are going to find your website first on a smartphone, just like the one pictured here.
I'm probably one of those people, once I find you in the search, I want to make sure your website looks good and do you actually offer the services that I'm looking for? Are you affordable? I'm looking for those pieces of information. So I would just want to mention, if you don't have a website, you can easily create one with Constant Contact. We have Rachel who's helping behind the scenes, and we'll have her share a link if you want some information to get started with your own website. Now, do you have any other tips for creating a great website?
Yeah, so you have to keep in mind you're trying to solve the customer's problem. It all goes down to that. Most of the data says that people will make a decision based on a website experience in under 3 seconds. So that means in faster time than I'm saying this sentence, Your customers decided to keep looking at you or go somewhere else to your competition. You need to make sure you really quickly answer the customer's question. Can you solve the problem? Are you reliable? Will you rip them off? Can you solve the problem that they're having? And you have to do that really quickly. These pages that are outlined here are some of the most common pages that are important for a customer. A home page, sometimes that's the first page that a customer finds. Not all the time. Sometimes the home page is just the things that help you rank better, but it's these other service pages that tells the jobs you do that a customer is going to land on first. Your about page, tell a bit about the culture, what makes your business unique. And a lot of trades, people think, well, I do roofing. That's what I do, is I literally hang shingles. The customers want to know what makes you different than your competition, because that's what makes you more valuable than your competition. The about page is a great spot to showcase why your business is different. Blog pages are fantastic opportunities to create tips, create value for customers. These are called informational queries. The type of things you put on a blog are not things that are directly creating to a customer, but they are positioning your business as authoritative and as an expert in your subject area. And then obviously a contact page. People have to know how to get you. Can they send you an email? Do they call you? What are your hours? Where are you located? These are the basic questions that on a contact page you have to answer quickly. And again, for all of these, you have to think about it like a customer. They're not going to give you the time of day. You have 3 seconds to answer their question. You need to make these things easy for them to find.
Can you talk, I've heard you mention that these types of businesses are really time starved, and I think most people are, right? But can you talk about maybe how to best manage your time with a blog?
Yeah, so the things that depends on the web platform. Our experience is blog somewhere around at least once a month, right? Once a month to every 2 weeks is fine. And try to create content that's relevant for people. So for like our personal website, we use a lot of like the conversations we have with contractors around the country. If we're at a trade show, if we're getting emails from guys asking a lot of similar questions, we try to go, a lot of guys are kind of curious about right now. If you're a seasonal business, so if you're something like a tree service, which is really busy in the spring, but really dead in the fall, know to write content around that seasonality. So in the spring, maybe you're talking about how to prepare your trees to handle storms better, because maybe spring storms are a big deal. In the fall, maybe a lot of your content shifts to actually saying things like how to prepare ice storms from destroying limbs and having them fall on your home. So always keep seasonality at play. Blogs don't have to be fancy. I would say at a minimum, try to do a blog about 400 words of value for your customer. If you go to 1,200 words, okay, you're kind of a rock star. You're kind of in a really good class of blogs at that point. But don't shoot for that. If anything, aim for about 400 words of useful information based on your customer experience and interactions. Doesn't have to be fancy, but at least once a month, just write something on your website for people to find.
Definitely. If people are asking you those questions in person, there's probably people out there who are going to be searching for it online, and that's your opportunity, another opportunity for you to show up.
Absolutely.
So, we actually have a guide. It's called Making Sense of Online Marketing for Home and Building Services. We'll have Rachel share a link to that guide in the questions window. But there's tons of great information about everything we're talking about today. But in the website portion specifically, we've actually outlined each of the list of questions that you'll want to answer on each of these 5 pages for your website. And that'll help to make sure that you're putting the right information there that will help you to show up and answer those questions that people are searching for. So let's talk about the next tool. This kind of leads us into email marketing, but one part of that would be putting something on your website. Usually we'd suggest a pop-up form like we see here, where you're collecting people's email address. So let's say they go to your website, but maybe they're not ready to buy. Maybe it's a remodeling project and they need a plumber or something like that. That could be an opportunity. But I know, Ryan, you've been talking to me in the past that there's other ways that you're seeing people collect email addresses in this industry. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, sure. So first, let's just say the obvious. Email addresses are gold. So the more you can collect that data, the more value you're adding to your business. Keep in mind that depending on the type of business you have, you're going to have one of two types of customers. Option one is you are a service business that does things with immediacy in mind, right? So your customers are looking for you because they stepped in the shower in the morning and the water was freezing cold. That's the only reason they're looking for you. So their buying cycle is really short. They're not going to take their time making a decision. They're not going to do months and months and months of research. They're going to find someone who can solve the problem, meet their budget, done, and their water's back. You might have something else like maybe they're doing a new construction project on a building. Maybe they're doing a kitchen remodel. They're going to take their time evaluating options, look at different tile samples. These people need a longer nurture sequence. So you need to be able to understand the types of customers that you have in your particular business. And there might be a little bit of both, but you need to make sure you keep those things separate. When you provide things like in this example, it's a low cost value offer, right? You're basically trying to use a financial trigger to get people to insert their personal information. The research suggests that most people don't feel comfortable putting in their personal email address unless it's worth about $10 to them. So make sure the perceived value to the customer is at least $10 in order for them to volunteer their email address. After that point, the next thing you have to do is earn the right to keep talking to them. Because if the next thing you do after you start saying, hey, here's a coupon, give us your email address, and you just start emailing them every day, give us your business, give us your business, give us your business, hire us, really quickly, the customer tunes you out, you get thrown the spam, and you've lost that opportunity. Email is a great way to stay in front of your customers' eyeballs where the screens are already looking at every day and provide value to them, even if they're not looking for using your services right now. Help add value for how your business helps make your customer's life better.
Definitely. So, you can address that immediacy, but like, if you have their email address, maybe you can get the remodeling project that they might have in 6 months or a year or something like that because you've had the ability to stay in touch. So I really like your point there, Ryan. So let's talk a little bit more about email marketing. Could you talk about the types of emails that you'd recommend people send in this area?
Yeah, so the examples that you're seeing here are really two good examples. So one is a promotion, a coupon, a rebate, an incentive, some sort of financial trigger that says, hey, here's a good reason to act. Maybe it's in your shoulder season for your business and your phones are slow. This is a good opportunity to drum up some extra business on low cost offers. If you're a plumber, it could be in-home water quality testing. It could be something, anything like this, any sort of holiday promotion, but it's a financial trigger, right? The other sort of idea is that you're doing a value add as far as helping the customer save money without you asking. So you can talk about things like how to DIY a common repair. You could ask them about, hey, how to actually water your tree around the drip line so that your trees are always going to look great. There's no reason for them to call you to come out and just walk around and waste your time. Help your customer answer common questions. And you can actually set up your email to automatically be sent to customers when you update a blog. So the same content you put on the blog to help customers, you can have it where it automatically shoots your customers an email. Where the rock stars stand out with email marketing is doing things that are actually laced in with humor and kind of like surprise. Customers, I mean, everyone here watching this has email, right? You probably registered with an email link, something. So you know this same sort of like emails that you get from all sorts of companies. The better you can help your business stand out by using humor, comedy, some sort of thing that's entertaining for your customer to watch, the more chance you have of searing your brand into that customer's mind that the next time they need a roofer or need someone to lay tile or need someone to mow their grass, whatever, you're the one that they think of because you're so memorable in the way you communicate and reach out. So as a starting point though, I would say promotions, coupons, rebates, any sort of incentive, a financial trigger, and then any sort of like helpful tip, very similar, if not identical content to the blog are easy giveaways for you.
Yes, they work in tandem together, and we'll talk a little bit more about content here in just a couple of minutes. But what do you recommend in terms of frequency for this type of industry?
Yeah, so that's tough. I'd probably say at least once a month. There are some people who would say, hey, you could do it some sort of drip a day. I kind of feel like that's a little bit overkill. Maybe once a week, Or maybe you can change it up in the seasonality, right? Maybe in the busy season for you, you could say just once a month. You're just going to stay there. You're barely going to keep up with the work as it is. So don't try to, you know, develop more inbound leads than your business can actually fulfill. But you could also say, hey, in the slow season, let's do something. Let's do a giveaway. Let's talk about how we're giving back to the community. Let's highlight, hey, this hurricane went through this region of our country and we're donating support. So find ways to add value to your customer. As long as you're always adding value to your customer, there's really not an overkill. So the trick is make sure you're adding value. Customers don't care about your business. They care about how you can solve their problem. So the more you can solve your customer's problem, the more they're willing to read your email.
Definitely. And that goes back to when you're asking people for their email address as well. Make sure you're not just asking for their email address for a monthly newsletter or something like that. Let them know, like Ryan is saying, the value that they're going to get from getting your emails. Don't make it just about collecting the emails for you. So,
Right.
very good information. So, let's move on. Let's talk about social media a bit. Can you talk about how social media can really play a role in this industry?
Yeah, social media is huge. And especially now with COVID-19, it's kind of gone a little bit on steroids. So the research before COVID was most people spend about 30 some odd percent of their time online looking at Facebook, like just Facebook. So it's a really easy way where people are just sitting on the couch or sitting at family dinner, and they're just scrolling through Facebook mindlessly, and it's a great way to stay engaged. But you have to keep in mind not every demographic uses every social channel the same. Facebook is really good if you are looking for people that are over the age of 22, let's maybe say 24, 25, and then below the age of 60. If you're in that window, Facebook's a really good product for you. If you do things like home remodeling or anything you do that's very visual, Facebook might not be the right medium. You might want to find a different tool that better showcases the visual quality of your work. So good things like this would be Instagram and Pinterest. Find ways that your customer is actually using social media and find ways to get in front of them with the way that they're looking to communicate. And this graphic is a good thing. Always keep in mind, you're going to reach the bulk of the market share with Facebook. Also keep in mind when your customers are on Facebook, they're probably not looking for your services right that second. They're probably not. So any sort of message you have to provide for them, make sure it's something that entertains them, engages them, gives them a reason to remember you, or pushes a button in their mind that helps them do an impulse decision. I mentioned the in-home water quality testing. If you're in an area that has a lot of well service around you, free indoor or like in your home water quality test is a really easy way to get your foot in the door that helps people go, oh, I'm not planning on doing this, but it doesn't cost me anything. Why not? Keep in mind that for things, if you're doing home remodel, if you're doing construction, if you're doing anything, again, that's large commercial projects, Facebook and Instagram might not be the right tools. YouTube is also really great for DIY things. So a lot of people look to YouTube for like any sort of things that they want to try to do themselves. You might think, why the heck would I waste my time doing something for people who aren't my customers? And the reason is because then you're always seen as the expert. You are going to be able to set the narrative, set the control of the conversation, and help your customer know you know your craft. Everyone else is second tier. You know your craft to such a level that you're willing to show people how it works. So it is a great thing. Twitter is also going to be very, very, very rapid fire. There's a lot of businesses this doesn't make sense for on a like, do 30 posts a day sort of thing. But just make sure every tool has a different job. There's also another one that's not listed here, which is Google My Business posts. Google My Business posts are arguably one of the most underused functions of Google My Business. There is an SEO value to it. If you have COVID related changes, Google is actually increasing the visibility of those posts for 14 days. So if you say, hey, we're doing these contactless service calls for the next month or whatever, Google will make that easier to see in its search results. So also include Google My Business posts in here as well. But yeah, just understand it's really important that you're active here. If your customer goes onto one of your social profiles and sees that your last post was in 2013, they probably think you're out of business and they've just gone to your competition. So keep it current, don't go out of date, and remember that you can't use the same tool for every job. Make sure you understand how the tools are different.
Definitely. So, we do suggest if you're like a one person business, pick one social media channel so that you can really focus your craft, understand the audience and make sure you're doing it right before you move on. If you're someone who has the ability to use multiple channels like this, definitely make sure that you're catering the message to each of the individual channels as well as the audience because they're going to be different on each of the channels. Let's touch a bit on social followings. How would our audience build an actual social following on any of these channels?
Yeah, so if we're really honest, most customers don't really think about, hey, I'm going to go follow this electrician on Facebook. Like that's not something that they just think about doing. So if you're starting from zero, we recommend kind of doing two things. One, set up the page for your business on whatever channel you prefer, and then ask your friends and family to follow the page. Like step one, get friends and family. You can probably get to 50 followers on a given channel if you're starting at zero, just by asking friends and family. From there, you can actually start doing paid opportunities to help increase your brand's visibility. So throw Facebook, throw Instagram, throw Twitter, 20 bucks just to promote your profile for just a couple weeks to people who are inclined to do that. These people might not ever be customers, but that's okay. You're growing your follower base. The next part of it is as you continue to post, as you continue to provide content, and here's the big kick, as your company continues to do exceptional service for your customers, people are more inclined to follow you. So practically speaking, let's be honest, if you're an HVAC contractor, uh, chances are your customer's a little bit pissed off that they have to call you to begin with. They're anxious because, again, something broke. It's either in the middle of the winter, it's the middle of summer, but either way, they're hot when they should be cold or they're cold when they should be hot. They're cranky. They're afraid that some guy's going to come into their house and tell them something that they feel like they should know how to fix themselves, but they don't. So maybe they feel embarrassed or insecure, and they're afraid you're going to take advantage of them and price gouge. So there's a lot of anxiety. As soon as your business comes into the customer, you exceed their expectation, you solve their problem, your customer's response is likely going to be something along the lines of, you know what? That was actually really good. Like that wasn't as bad as I thought. And think about like maybe you went to a trip to the dentist recently, right? And you go, I hate going to the dentist. And you come out and you go, that actually didn't suck like I thought it would. That is a great way that your customers are going to follow you on those given channels. And chances are you just made a repeat customer. So whatever marketing mechanism you use to create that customer, by them following you on Facebook because you did an exceptional service for them, they're going to stay your customer the next time around and the next time around and the next time around. So make sure that friends and family pay what you can, but there's no better way to grow your social following than by doing exceptional service for the customers you touch. That is a slow churn, but over time, you will find you have a very, very devoted follower base full of repeat customers.
Definitely. Nobody likes to think about having to switch their HVAC person, that's very overwhelming, at least for me. So I want to make sure we get through some of these other tools. Let's talk about listings and reviews. What kind of sites are going to be most important for this industry?
Yeah, so the big ones, obviously, you're going to start with Google My Business, you're going to start with Yelp, you're going to start with Facebook, you're going to start with things like that. On top of that, the things like Angie's List, Home Advisor, House, those are also good kind of lead gen opportunities. The idea is if there's a directory of businesses similar to yours, you want to try to be there. This includes also things like the local chamber of commerce. If you're in a town that has a chamber, be a part of the chamber. Find ways where your customers will find that either a part of the community or people are actively looking for you. But the ones at a minimum, if you do nothing else, Facebook, Google My Business, Yelp. Start there today if you haven't already done it.
Very important. So reviews are so important because nobody wants to, they're probably not going to trust you if they see a review back from 2014, right? So what is the best way to ask for reviews?
Ask for them. most most guys that we meet are afraid to ask for reviews. They think that people are just naturally going to go online and be like,
Yep.
hey, they did a great job. The only thing people do naturally without being asked is complain. If you did not do exceptional service, your customer's going to tell everyone they know. You don't have to ask them to, they're just going to do it. If they are generally happy, if you know that you exceeded their expectations, ask them for a review. And sometimes all you have to do is say, look, for a small business like me, you have no idea how important these Google reviews are or how important these Facebook recommends are. Would you literally mind taking 10 seconds and just go on, just tell people about your experience with us? That would really mean the world to me. Our experience is people want to help you. And if you help them, if they are impressed with your service, and if you just ask honestly, chances are they're going to help you out. Don't do like, hey, we'll give you a $5 Starbucks gift card. Don't do, you know, like we have a burger place in our neighborhood that gives you like a free chili cheese fries if you go online and leave a review with the promo code. Don't do that. No one cares. Just ask for it like it matters to you. You'd be surprised. People will just do it if you ask.
I would say that's very true. Now, the other side of that is going to be managing and responding to those reviews. I think you should respond to all reviews, but can you talk a little bit about the strategy there?
Yeah, so part of this is before customers will contact you, uh, chances are they're going to do the digging on your reputation first. Most people will start at the negative reviews. And so while it's really tempting to like try to tell off a unhappy customer and tell them what you really think, always take the high road. Always make it where somebody else looking on the outside, looking at the cranky customer's review and your response goes, huh, that company showed merit, they showed integrity, they showed leadership, they took onus of the problem. And that person looks like they're just a cranky person that will never be satisfied. The company took the high road. You always got to make sure that your company appears to do that on all channels. Google My Business is extremely important to do that on because there is SEO value of those reviews and of those responses. Facebook is important. Yelp is important. Those things are really, really important. When you get into the other lead gen sites like Angie's List, Home Advisor, Porch, Thumbtack, those are going to be where people are going to be looking at you only if you're paying to play. So if you're not actively paying for leads on those platforms, you don't have to really worry about your reputation on those.
Definitely, yeah. Manage that reputation and what people see is such important information here. So let's talk a little bit more about content. So you've touched on it a bit, in terms of SEO, and you've talked about what types of information people might be looking for. So answering those questions, but is there anything else you might recommend if someone's stuck in terms of trying to figure out what to write on their blog?
Yeah, so the easy things are the ones we've talked about, right? Seasonal things, answers to common questions you field from customers. We actually use a tool called Ahrefs, which is like a very complicated SEO tool, which lets us look for what people are looking for that other of your competitors are ranking well for. And then we try to write content that helps steal away those searches from your competitor. So there are tools online where you can say, hey, people are looking for this. Another good example would be Google's autocomplete. Open up a Google tab, start typing a sentence and say, why is my hot water or whatever? And you'll see Google trying to autocomplete the answers to what you're typing. Whatever it's trying to autocomplete, write something on that. If you have no other ideas, if you have no other clue, just answer the question that Google's already trying to autocomplete for you. Google knows what people are searching for better than anyone watching this does.
That would be why they're like the number one ranked search tool. So I definitely love that idea. So let's talk a little bit more in terms of paid ads. I know you said $20 if you're looking to grow your social media following. Could you talk a little bit more about this industry in terms of paid ads and what maybe is a little bit more realistic to drive business?
Yeah, so in this industry, a lot of you guys probably know this if you're watching this, prices can range dramatically across the board. So in some industries, you can pay $2, $3, $4 per click on important keywords. Our experience is in some markets, you're not going to get the click for a word plumber, for instance, for under 50 bucks. So it's really important from the get-go that you are very, very intentional about how much money you're allocating to these paid lead platforms. and that you're making sure that you're right sizing your expectations. Of the people who click on an ad, 100% of them do not become customers. So if you're thinking, hey, I've got a $20 a day budget, I'd like to throw at AdWords. If you're in a competitive market, $20 a day might not move the needle. It might not be an efficient use of money at all. Facebook and Instagram is a little bit different, right? Because depending on your specific business, your customers may or may not be actively looking for your business services on Facebook. So the type of offer that you have to put in front of them for Facebook is just different fundamentally than the type of approach you would do if you're doing AdWords or Google local services. If you have good Google reputation, so if your Google reviews are strong, and if you have the budget to support it, if you're in a market where Google local services exists, I would recommend local services over AdWords if it comes down to a budget choice. Google local services is pay per lead, AdWords is pay per click. It is a more efficient way to produce an actual paying customer with Google local services versus AdWords, if you have the reputation to support it.
Definitely. I really think that's important because most people are going to go to Google, like in my example that I shared with the plumber and even with the electrician this morning. So, good things to think about there. What would be a good ROI for this industry in terms of what they're spending and what to expect in terms of business?
It really depends. So that's going to depend on market and on your company's model. So for instance, we have plumbers we work with who their average ticket price right now is somewhere between $800 and $1,200. If that's the case, if we produce a lead for them that costs us 35 bucks, that's a really good ROI. $1,200 average ticket on a $35 lead. Great. If your average ticket price is $200 and you paid $100 for that lead, there's a math problem there. So it's very, very market specific. There are tools like Google AdWords Keyword Planner, which lets you actually see how much your competition is bidding on certain terms. It's a free tool. Just go online, go to AdWords Keyword Planner. You can type in the terms that are important for you in your radius of your business area. And Google will tell you, hey, this is the cost per click that people are paying right now. And you can determine your own numbers on, hey, for that term and our average ticket for that term, is that going to create a good ROI? You can start doing at least the cocktail napkin math on that side.
Yeah, really thinking about what it is you're selling and that average ticket price. I like a good way of thinking about that. Sometimes small businesses are, oh, ads are just too expensive. So really important to think about it that way. So let's just recap this section really quick so that we can recap the entire webinar here. So first off, make sure you've got a mobile-friendly website. You want to use email to really get in people's inboxes and influence them later on. Social media, up-to-date business listings where you're collecting reviews and where people can find that information about you. And then an easy way for you to create content and answer people's questions. So let's just talk a little bit about how this all really comes together. So here on the screen, we've got what we call the engagement marketing cycle, and this is typically what it looks like. Could you walk us through typically, this engagement cycle in terms of home and building services?
Yeah. So again, keeping in mind, most people are a little bit skeptical when they even reach out to one of these companies to begin with. They're ready to be impressed and they're ready to be wowed. So if you start the idea of driving the visibility, so this particular chart starts on the bottom left, right? Where you start becoming more visible, you start finding them on social, on Google organic, you start finding new opportunities, and then you provide a customer experience that impresses them. Now you're going to try to find ways to keep them in your life cycle. More importantly, though, going back to the very first thing we talked about, when you provide a wow experience and you entice them to stay with you, you can help them create more leads for you. That referral source of one happy customer is going to pay dividends for your company. So always think of it like take care of every customer like they're your only customer for the day, like they're your most important customer, and do what it takes to impress them. The rest will take care of itself.
Exactly. When they're happy, ask them for their email address, ask them to write a review, ask them to follow you on social media. And that all leads to more engagement, more visibility, and ultimately increased exposure for more and more people to find you in the search. So let's go ahead. just a reminder, here's how you can take action. Make sure your website is mobile responsive and it's a resource for people. Like Ryan was saying, make sure it's answering the questions that people are going to have. Make sure that you're capturing email addresses not only from your website visitors, but also, as Ryan said, when you're meeting customers or clients face to face and when they're happy. And then social media. Remember, I think a lot of people get stuck in what do I post? What do I post? Well, remember, it's all about interacting with people, sharing information that can help you stay top of mind, and also updates, what changes in your business, the seasonality that Ryan was talking about. And then engaging with reviews. Not only ask for the reviews when people are happy, but you can really build trust with new people who find you by engaging with those reviews good and bad. I think you can always say thank you and try to show that you're helping even with those angry people. And then, of course, email marketing. This is where you can provide that exclusive, helpful information as well as that promotional content as well. And then don't forget about the options for paid advertising. Ryan was talking about the local search ads. You can do Google ads within Constant Contact if you want to show up in those regular search ads. And then we've also got options if you want to get on Facebook or Instagram with your ads and start targeting people there. Did I happen to miss anything that maybe you want people to walk away with when they leave today?
No, I think this is good. And just maybe to circle back slightly on the Facebook, one one of the most important things that I would say right now with using Facebook specifically during the COVID-19 crisis is to take advantage of it to humanize your business. Everyone's feeling anxious, everyone's feeling nervous. It doesn't matter if you're in a full lockdown or quarantine mode, it doesn't matter. Your customers have a lot of anxiety about any sort of unknowns. So the more you can provide a human experience with your business, the more effective that particular tool will be for you, especially right now.
I think that is such an important message because I've seen so many businesses afraid to even promote their business or put it out there in any sort of light, and letting people know what's happening in your industry, or you're a real human and you're a local business. There are people like me, and I know tons of other people I know who want to support your business during this time. So make
Yeah.
sure that you're putting that human element behind it. So let's go ahead, and we've recapped here a little bit. Let's get to this Q&A. And before we do, I just want to have Rachel share the guide for the download Making Sense of Online Marketing. And if you need that link, it'll be in the questions window. So we've got tons of really great questions. Let's see. We've got this one from Lee. How do we find an inexpensive company to build social media sites for us? Example, Facebook, LinkedIn, and or Instagram.
Yeah, so there's honestly in some of these, when it comes down to building, it's not really hard to do. So it'd be really easy for me to say, find someone around you, ask for in your trade circles of who they use and pay someone to do it. Typical setup fees for that can be anywhere from $250 to $500 per channel. And honestly, saying that out loud, I say it's easy enough. Facebook makes it easy enough where they walk you through the process. Don't be intimidated by setting up a profile for your business. In fact, in every state of the United States, there's a group called the Small Business Development Center. These are federally funded groups that are they do low and no cost business counseling. A lot of them actually have like host classes on how to set up your business page for Facebook. So if you really feel like I need someone to walk me through this, find an SBDC in your neck of the woods and kind of just attend a class. There's no reason to pay somebody $250 or $500 to set up an account. It's really easy. Don't be intimidated by it. Just remember name, address, phone number, website, the services you provide. That's the important things to do getting started.
I love that. And I love that piece of advice because it really is pretty easy to do it. But if you're really time starved, then you might look for one of those other routes like you were talking about. So this next one comes from Emily. Will having social media channels that are active and engaging help with Google search results? Wondering
Yes.
if Google recognizes social media as important digital real estate when considering a business's online presence.
Yeah, that's an awesome question. So the answer is yes. Now here's where it gets a little bit nerdy. Google officially says, nah, they don't really pay attention to Facebook to do rankings. That's Google's thing. Our test, other industry experts test who are SEO leads in the nation. We've done our own analysis and we say, nope, the companies that Google tends to promote tend to have very active social platforms. So yes, be active with social. It's only going to help you.
Agreed. This next one comes from Teresa. Best way to request positive reviews to Google. We have a website, CC, I think they mean constant contact maybe, Facebook, Pinterest, Instagram, and the last two are newly developed. Secondly, there is a second place social media you would suggest reviews are posted to.
So yeah, there's a couple of things here. Whatever you do to request reviews, make it easy for your customer to do it. There are tools that are available that help you like send a text to your customer, request a review, and the customer just clicks on the button to leave a review on Google or Facebook or wherever. So you can take a look at those. If you don't want to pay for any tool like that, if nothing else, put a button on your website to say, hey, leave a review here. So you can say, tell your customers, take 2 seconds, go on your website, you'll see the giant button, just click there and it'll do the rest. Make it easy for your customers to help you. Um, as a rule, right? As a rule, I would say always, always, always prioritize Google reviews. Always. It helps your website ranking, it helps your map ranking, it helps your Google local services ads performance. Always prioritize Google reviews. If you're in an industry where they prioritize certain lead sources, so if you get a lot of leads from Angie's List or Home Advisor or Yelp or whatever, prioritize second those reviews on that particular platform. Wherever you know you get a lot of leads from, make sure that you have a positive reputation there. But always, always prioritize Google first above everything.
Yeah, so I think you could even, create an email and you drive people to your Google My Business listing. Isn't there a way to grab a link to your Google My Business listing for that
It's
as
a
well?
little bit complicated. They've tried to make it a little bit easier. If you go into like the maps view, or actually you can now from the dashboard, there's a way to actually get a review link from your Google My Business profile on a website. It's not the most user-friendly way to do it in the world, but you can have a clickable link you can provide. There are also some free tools online if you are clever with Googling on how to actually get that code. But Google doesn't make it super easy. They're trying to get better.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So this next one comes from Alicia. How often do you recommend posting on a blog? I think maybe you touched on this in the presentation.
Yeah. So I mentioned this at least once a month. At most, I would say once a week, and that's assuming you have something worth saying once a week. But once a blog or once a month at a minimum for a blog.
Yeah, don't just post for the sake of you knowing you need to get something out there. Make sure it's valuable information that people are going to be interested in reading in the first place.
Right.
So this next one comes from Erica. Should we add pictures or videos to the blog?
Yes. Both of those are very engaging. People love video. People love video. Um, and remember, people are looking for your blog because you're providing helpful information. So if you're talking about how you landscape something, show the before and after of how the land was graded and how the rock formations came in, how you did the fountain, whatever. Show the before and after of the problems you solved. That helps show your expertise. If you're something like a plumber, maybe you're doing something like how to replace a garbage disposal. So you're actually walking them through how to do all that work. The more you position yourself as an expert and the more value you provide for your customer in there, the more respect and trust they have for you.
Totally agree there. So this next one comes from Dana. Is it okay to use edited client email content as blog content, releasing around the same time?
I'm not sure I understand the question. What's your, Dana, are you still there that you could chime in on that? Or Stephanie, did you understand it in a different way?
I'm going to take a stab and say, I think what they mean is like if someone were to take a picture and maybe share it on social media, could you use that as a blog or,
Okay.
a picture or maybe even a review, I would say.
You can do that.
Something.
I would, just for privacy reasons, if somebody does leave a review, technically they're doing it under their own public name. I would probably go to the extra step of making sure that you hide any like last name that the person has, or if they have a family photo, anything identifying them as a family, especially if there's children, I would hide that information. Yeah, just be smart about what you publicly disclose on your website. Even though the customer volunteered it, take the extra step.
Yes, I agree. Get their permission. What kind of incentives could a builder offer for an email address since it's not really a coupon or a discount type business?
Yeah, that's a good question. So you could do any sort of giveaways are another good one, where you collect email addresses and at the end of a certain period of time you give away. If you're collecting, for instance, if you're a builder and your customers are B2B, so you're actually trying to recruit like general contractors to hire you, find a giveaway that's enticing for the GCs to give you an email address. If your end user is a customer, try to partner with somebody that you could do another giveaway. Maybe as a part of a project, you're going to give away a tankless water heater. Find some sort of incentive to help trigger people to do it. That's not necessarily, we'll give you 5% off, because you're right, that won't really push the button. But you can find creative ways to still get it out of people.
Gotcha. Let's take one more question here. Erica says we're going to be delivering pizza to the ER hospitals in our area. Should I email
Awesome.
pictures of this to our customers and should I make a blog about it?
I don't know if I'd blog it. I would absolutely put that in social media. Absolutely. Now, here's the line, and I'm just going to say it because it's kind of awkward. On social media, you're half touting how great you are, but you need to be careful that you don't write content about how great you are. The point of what you write on the social is you're so grateful for the first responders. You know they've been working like 110 hours a week for a month and a half. You want to make sure that they're, that they're taken care of. And as a sign of support, you're delivering pizzas. Do it in uniform, do it in your vans, like go as representatives of your company. But in the post, highlight the people you're supporting, not your business. From there, feel free to boost that post. Like feel free to boost it in your target radius so that you increase the visibility. Just make sure you're not like, hey, we're so great that we decided to do this and yay us. Uh, it gets pretty tasteless pretty fast if you start patting yourself on the back really hard.
I would have to agree. There's that fine line. So
Yeah.
thank you for sharing that. I do see we're a little bit over the top of the hour, so I don't want to take up everyone else's time. And I know you're very busy as well, Ryan. I want to thank you so much for joining and sharing all of your great expertise. It was wonderful to hear all this great information. Is there one last thing that maybe you want to leave our audience with today?
No, I'm grateful for the chance to be on here. I know that there's a lot of opinions, a lot of misinformation, a lot of stuff going on just everywhere right now. So Constant Contact has always been a great resource. I'm really proud of the opportunity to be on here and hope something in here was helpful for you.
Yes, we are very proud and happy that you were able to join us as well. So I do want to let you all know that we have the recording. It is recording. We'll be sending that out hopefully by the end of today, as long as technology cooperates with us. By the end of tomorrow at the very latest. And I know there was some other questions that we didn't quite get to, and we're going to spend some time with the team over the next couple of days trying to answer those. So there'll be a link in to our community in your follow-up email as well. So I want to thank everyone so much for joining us today, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. Thanks again, Ryan.
Thank you guys.
Bye now.